Welcome back to Andersen Acres. Today I wanted to step away from the chores and the animal updates and talk about something a little bit bigger. About how hobby farming changes the way you see food. For most of us, food starts as something we grab at the grocery store. You need milk, you go pick up some milk. You need eggs, you grab a carton. It's simple, it's convenient, and it's not something we think all that deeply about, to be honest. But once you start raising even a little food on your own, everything changes. Suddenly, a meal isn't just what's on your plate, it's a story of effort, of patience, and of connection to the land. And once you've lived that, you can never really look at food the same way again. One of the biggest changes is that you stop seeing food as a constant, always available commodity, and you start seeing it as a part of the natural rhythm of the year. Tomatoes, they don't just exist at the grocery store in January. They belong to summer, when they're warm from the sun and they smell like the vine. Squash isn't just a side dish, it's an announcement of fall, when the air is cooler and the harvest is heavy. Eggs come in abundance in spring and early summer when daylight stretches are long, but slow down in winter when hens naturally rest. You learn that food has a season, and those seasons cannot be rushed. You can't make cucumbers grow faster. You can't push an apple tree to fruit in spring. And you can't convince a goat to freshen just because you ran out of milk. Farming teaches patience in a way grocery shopping never really can. And when that patience pays off, when that first ripe strawberry of the year makes it to your mouth, it's not just a berry, it's a celebration of the season itself. And then comes the appreciation of just how much effort goes into producing even the simplest of foods. Take a single egg, for example. Before it reaches your breakfast plate, it required keeping the hens safe and keeping them fed and well nourished and keeping them clean and giving them fresh bedding and giving them fresh water and the daily care that goes into looking after your chickens. And that's not even counting the time making sure predators stay away or fences hold up or searching the bush for your favorite hen because you can't find her today. Suddenly, one egg isn't just cheap protein, it's a reflection of real, ongoing work. Or think about something like jam, okay? I love jam. At the store, it's a jar you toss in your cart. But on a farm, it's weeks of watching your berries ripen, hands strained from the picking and back hurting from bending over. It's hours in the kitchen, washing, cooking, sealing. All of that effort goes into a jar that someone might polish off in a week. That disconnect makes you realize food is never just food. It's always the result of care, time, and effort, even if you did have to go buy your milk at the store this week. And it doesn't matter whether you did the work or someone else did the work, that work deserves to be honored. Now, another shift is how you see waste. Before farming, it's easy to toss food in the trash without thinking twice. Let's be honest. A lot of people can just, there go the leftovers, I wasn't going to eat them anyway. But on a hobby farm, you learn very quickly that nothing is ever truly wasted. Scraps go to the chickens, who turn them into eggs. Peelings and coffee grounds go to the compost, which feeds the garden. Stale bread finds a second life as goat treats or pig feed. It's a cycle where everything is useful. Everything comes back around. That mindset makes waste harder to accept. Throwing out half a sandwich or letting vegetables rot in the fridge starts to feel unthinkable because you know what it takes to produce them. You know how disrespectful it would be to let that half a cucumber go in the trash instead of eat it yourself or give it to your chickens or even compost it. You know the effort behind every bite. Even little things like eggshells get repurposed into the garden or into calcium supplements for your hens. On a farm, you realize there's no such thing as away when you throw something away. It always goes somewhere, and you learn to use it wisely, whether it goes in the snack bucket for the chickens or the compost bin for nature. Everything gets used. It's not trash. It just has another purpose. And then there's the taste of the food you grow yourself. This is where people notice the biggest difference. This is where I certainly did when we started growing our own food. Fresh eggs from your own hens aren't just prettier with those rich golden yolks that are so common in the backyard, especially free range flocks, but they taste better. They really do. Vegetables from the garden that you harvest yourself, ripe, in season, picked this morning, minutes from vine to plate. They have a depth of flavor you just can't find in produce that's been shipped across the country and stored in a warehouse. It doesn't matter how carefully they were picked, how gently they were transported. That tomato fresh off the vine in your own garden will always have more flavor than the thing you got at the supermarket. And milk is another striking example. When you raise your own animals, fresh milk can be incredibly sweet and rich and unlike anything you'll buy in a jug. I want to be really clear here. I'm not talking about raw milk. Raw milk carries some serious health risks, and it should be pasteurized first. That means heating it on your stove to the proper temperature and then rapidly chilling it. That's what we do when we have raw milk. We heat it so that it's safe, rapidly chill it. But this process makes it safe to drink without losing that farm fresh flavor. Okay, it's delightful. Do we buy milk still? Yes, because I can't always get fresh milk, especially in the winter. A lot of the places around here don't have cows that are in milk in the winter. That's fine. But it is important that we realize that the milk tastes so much better because it's so much fresher. Like, it's freaking fresh. When I get milk from down the road and I bring it home and I heat it on the stove to pasteurize it, and then I put it in the fridge, nothing I buy at the store is going to be that fresh. It's just not going to be. And because mentioning milk always brings out the raw milk argument, I do want to point out that there have been some recent outbreaks linked to raw milk, and these have had tragic consequences. I don't want anyone thinking you should consume your farm milk raw. It's really easy to pasteurize it at home. Just put it on the stove. You heat it up, get your thermometer out, clip your thermometer to the side of your pot, watch when it hits that temperature, set a timer, wait, rapidly chill, you're done. It's fantastic. And it always even though the pasteurization process is essentially the same, heat it to a certain temperature, wait the amount of time, chill it. It tastes better when it was just milked yesterday, as opposed to milk that's been sitting on the store shelf for 3 days or longer. It always tastes better, okay? And so the lesson in this part of the conversation isn't about skipping steps. It's not about, well, I'm just going to skip pasteurizing my milk because it's easier. This isn't about skipping steps, okay? It's about how raising the animal yourself or having your neighbor raise that animal and you being involved makes you see every glass of milk differently because you now understand the entire process. You know what goes into collecting that. And if you pasteurize it yourself, you also know what goes into that. This is hard work and it deserves respect. And taste goes beyond just the freshness. Farming teaches you that food should be seasonal, at least to an extent. Strawberries in June are magical because they're fleeting. Squash soup in October tastes right because it matches the air outside. When you've lived through the cycles of growing and preserving and enjoying food in its proper time, eating becomes not just nourishment, but an experience tied to place and season. The longer you farm, the more it shapes your philosophy towards food as a whole. You gain humility because you realize how dependent you are on weather and soil and cycles you can't control. You gain gratitude because every meal represents someone's hard work, whether it's yours, a neighbor's, or a distant farmer halfway across the world who picked those mangoes you were so excited to buy. And you gain respect not just for the food itself, but for the people who make it possible. Even walking through a grocery store feels different. You might not know the farmer who grew those bananas or those potatoes, but you know the kind of work it took because you've done a small piece of it yourself. Farming breaks that wall of detachment, even if it's just in a backyard plot where you grew potatoes this year. Food is no longer anonymous. It's living proof of time, labor, and care. It changes the way you think about abundance as well. When you harvest too many tomatoes and spend hours canning them or turning them into sauce, you realize that abundance isn't wasteful, it's a gift. And when the pantry is lined with jars you made yourself, you feel a satisfaction that no grocery receipt can ever give you. And that's about it for me here today at Andersen Acres. Hobby farming changes you, not just because the animals are the chores, but because it shifts how you see something as simple and as vital as food. It makes every bite personal. So let me know in the comments, has growing or raising a little of your own food changed the way you see it? I know it did for me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas. Thanks for spending this time with me. We'll see you tomorrow.